Hey guys, welcome back. So like we mentioned earlier, we're going to be doing a duotone effect using Gravit. Now for your check for understanding, we've given you quite a few of the components already made, so you can practice using this technique at least once before you get to the main activity. First thing you should do is download your file and save it to your cloud with your name somewhere so you have a copy somewhere safe. Now you'll see for your check for understanding, you have a few pieces. You have some type already set for you. You have an image and you have this weird black line around the figure, which we'll get into in a second. You also have the written instructions here to help you out as you work. In your own photograph, you're going to do your own pencil work, but for your check for understanding, we've kind of created it for you. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see a little closer, right? When you do your work today, after you find your photograph or use one of the ones provided, you're going to take your pencil and trace the figure. You'll see that there is a path already here for you. It doesn't have a fill, it's just a black stroke. Now, the next step of your check for understanding is to make a mask. But first we need to make a copy of the background. So we need two photographs in this. So I'm gonna just hit Command C, Command V. If you're on a PC, it might be Control instead. And then what we wanna do is select this together with the path. So you'll see here on the left, I have my copy of my photograph and I have my path. I want to hold shift and select both of them so they're both activated. So you can tell that because it's gray. The next thing I want to do is right click, mask with shape. What that's going to do is it's basically going to give us, if we hide this, the young woman alone because it's masking with the shape we made, which is why we made the shape. And that's going to allow the woman to be on its own layer. So that's really important for us. The next step says to hide and blur the stroke. So let's open this up. Let's make sure we have the stroke activated and we just want to hide it. So we're going to take down here where it says border. See how it says 100%? We want the border to be a 0%. So it's just not visible because we don't want to see that black line anymore. We used it for its purpose. And then we want to blur it slightly, and that's just going to soften the edge. So we can add a blur just like we've done in the past right down here. We want the blur to be really subtle. See how crazy that is right now? Let's put it to 0.3. It's barely obvious, but it'll make your figure look a lot nicer with your image. The next part of today is where we really work with removing the color that's there and adding this duotone. To do that, we're going to start by selecting our photograph in the back, making sure we activate it. We're going to add a color adjustment. Color adjustments are located on the right-hand side underneath your blur. If you hit that little plus sign, you have the option to desaturate. So desaturate is going to strip our color. We're going to put it to -100. Now we can play with the brightness and the saturation. If your image looks too bright or too dark, it's a good way to kind of make this look more balanced. I'm going to remember those numbers and I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to activate the photograph inside my mask. I want to make sure I actually click on that photograph and not the mask itself. Once both photographs have been stripped of color, now we're going to bring the color back to our document. We're going to start off by making a rectangle, the same size of our photograph. We can just trace it like this. Now right now the photograph is being blocked by the fill, but we're going to edit that. First thing you want to do is choose a fill color of your choice. I want to choose something like a dark blue family, something like that. And now I'm going to change the blend mode. So the blend mode is located right next to where you pick your fill. You see where it says normal? If you click that down, you can change it. We're going to work with overlay. It's going to allow us to have color, but still see the background. I'm going to drag my rectangle now underneath so that it's over the back photograph. So I'm over my background, but not over the young woman yet. Now I want to change this color so that it has a little bit more depth. So I'm going to create a gradient. To do that, I can click on my fill, change it from color fill to linear gradient, and then just add a secondary color. So I'm going to click on the little slider part here on the right, and choose maybe like a nice dark purple as well. And then I can kind of move my sliders around if I'd like my color to be in a certain angle. Okay, once I'm happy with this, now I want to make a copy of my rectangle. So I'm just going to select my rectangle, hit copy and paste. So I only have to make this once. Now I want this rectangle to go inside my mask. So I'm going to drag it there so it goes over the woman as well. So that gradient is nice and seamless. Now once we're done with that, we have our duotone and now it's just about adding text. For the main activity, you're going to choose your own text, lyrics, things like that. But for this, we wanted to give it to you ready made. So you're going to see that there's text here on the side. All you have to do to text in this instance is kind of think about color and location. So first things first, I'm going to move my text so that it's underneath the figure of the person. So it kind of hides behind her shoulder a little. So I'm going to drag my text under the mask, but overall my color. Just make sure I drag it in the right location. See, I had put it in the mask by accident. If that happens to you, just drag it out. Okay, now when I think about the color, this dark color is not good for my background, so I'm gonna make my text white, and I'm gonna think about how I can make it look like it's slightly behind the woman, because I think that would look interesting. I want the text to kind of interact with my photograph. I think that works. You can also add some depth to this by making a copy of your text, having the background one a darker color. So I'm gonna make this one like this darker blue. I'm gonna zoom in so you can kind of see what this looks like. And I'm just gonna move it over with my arrow key a little. Do you see how it gives like this little blue shadow to the back of my text? Just makes it stand out a little bit. If we zoom out, now we have a completed duotone poster. You're gonna do the same thing with your own, but before that, just to ensure that you understand how to do this, you're gonna complete this check for understanding. Take a screenshot or save this as a JPEG and put it in your progress check-in slides. Now, your main activity has a little bit more freedom. You can choose a musical artist of your own, or you can choose one of the ones we provided for you here. We have quite a few options from people from Asian and Latin American backgrounds, which I think is kind of cool personally, but you can choose whoever you'd like. Just make sure the photograph is nice, a good resolution when you bring it in. You're going to do the exact same technique we did for the check for understanding, except you're going to choose your own photograph and your own words. So if you choose a musical artist, maybe you want to use their name or their lyrics. Now, the one thing you're going to have to do that's going to take a little bit longer is you're going to have to create that path that you're going to use as a mask. So when we first started the check for understanding, you had a black line around the young woman. You're not going to have that in the photograph you choose. You're going to have to make that with the pen tool. So make sure your pen tool work is nice and clean, or you'll have like a very jagged figure at the end. You can follow the same instructions you follow for your check for understanding with the addition of your own type and your own path. Make sure you give us a lot of check-ins, and I can't wait to see what you come up with.